Welcome to From Chaos to Code, Rebuilding the Iron Mind, where we talk about the real side of men's health. Not the Instagram highlight reel, not the fake stoicism, but the honest effects that happen when life hits you harder than any workout ever could. I'm your host, Ricardo, and I've lived a few different lives. Teacher, property manager, MMA promoter, garage mechanic, handyman, empath. I've been the man everyone leans on, the one who fixes things. Until the weight of it all almost broke me. Here, we want to talk about what that really costs. When being the strong one becomes survival instead of strength. How burnout, silence, and pride slowly eat away at you until you realize you've built armor so thick that you can't even breathe under it. This isn't about weakness, it's about rebuilding. Learning that real strength isn't about how much you can carry. It's about knowing when to set it down. So let's start there, with the cost of being the strong one and what it actually takes to reclaim your iron mind. Welcome back to From Chaos to Code. Our episode today is entitled From Control to Command, Reclaiming Calm Under Pressure. Now, before we start, honest confession, this is actually my second time recording this podcast. The first one, I was putting in a lot of personal examples, and I found that I had so many personal examples about times that I tried to control my environment, not necessarily other people, but just be in control of my environment, that not only was it lengthy, but my God, it hit me a little bit too much self-reflection. So I'm coming back to record it a second time with a bit more focus and hopefully not too much bearing of the soul. I mean, I think the reason you guys are listening to this is because you need to understand what's being discussed, but at the same time look for solutions. That's my entire purpose behind it, not a therapy session for myself. So let's get back to the actual podcast after that caveat. Once again, it's entitled From Control to Command. Now, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what the hell control means. Because everybody who's lived through chaos, every man who's lived through chaos, eventually builds his own control system. We schedule, we fix, predict, and overplan, and this isn't because we crave order, it's because we fear uncertainty. So when the world feels unstable, we reach for what feels steady. And control feels safe because it mimics stability. Control gives us the illusion that if we can anticipate enough, we can prevent the next fall. And when our responsibilities pile up, emotions get messy, or life pulls in opposite directions, and then the instinct is to tighten that grip, not from weakness, but from instinct. So, neurobiologically, when the brain senses threat, either emotional or physical, the limbic system fires. That cortisol we've talked about prior floods the bloodstream, sharpens focus, but also narrows perspective. So the body starts scanning for danger, not just outside, but everywhere. Our plan, the schedule, the tone in someone's voice. And the brain doesn't differentiate between real danger and uncertainty. Both trigger the same psychological alert. And so control becomes the lever, that illusion of safety through micromanagement, overthinking, and overstructuring. Now, of course, I love to bring in expert works beyond my own limited understanding. So I want to talk a little bit about Dr. Bruce Perry. He's actually a trauma expert and co-author of What Happened to You. Now, Dr. Bruce Perry calls all of this patterned regulation. It's the brain's way of self-soothing through repetition. So when chaos hits, the nervous system learns that routines equal safety. So we repeat behaviors not because they're effective, but because they're familiar. This is the person who can't relax until everything is lined up and the dishes are done. The soldier who can't relax until his boots are perfectly polished. The firefighter who keeps his gear packed even when he's off duty. That professional who checks email compulsively to avoid falling behind. Or even the man who can't end the day without the gym, and it's not just for fitness. In this case, it's a control mechanism, because each of these examples sends the same signal. I'm safe again. But over time, the brain begins to associate control itself with safety. So when life inevitably refuses to follow your script, the nervous system panics and you double down. More rules, tighter routines, maybe harsher self-talk. And that discipline that once grounded you starts to drain you. So you're not addicted to control, you're addicted to the chemistry of control. That dopamine cortisol rhythm that tells the body, I am doing something, so I'm safe. And it works until it doesn't. So control is really fear of the unknown or lack of control disguised as discipline. I'll be honest, the reason I'm doing this podcast tonight is because there's so much work around me. I've been doing it all day, but I need to find a way to get a creative outlet in a manner that I can focus. So this is edging onto that idea of control, but I'm recognizing it and ensuring that it's put towards something useful, we'll say. I have other personal examples, like I said in the beginning. I have a million personal examples of when my control caused issues when I was doing practicums in university, or even my regular gym routine for a long time. The schedule caused burnout. Monday had to be chest, bro split. Tuesday had to be back. Wednesday had to be legs. And I did 6 days straight with Sundays off, and then I'd repeat no matter what. Or, because I'm living that bachelor life, I always had a house cleaning schedule. And Fridays I wouldn't let myself leave the home to go do anything or even to relax until it was meticulous. I had a show home quality home all the time, but that's unrealistic. I mean, I do enjoy having a clean house, but 24/7 having it immaculate means I probably should sleep in the garage. Or I know some of you have been next to a pager or a phone since you were young teenagers, and that's me too. So no matter what, you have a phone or a couple beside you, and you're constantly checking them because you have this inundation of control. You feel that if you leave the phone for a moment, that chaos will erupt. I used to check my phone when I was in the shower. And then, of course, there's things such as financial tracking. Now, I pride myself on my finances, as you know, 900 credit score, nothing to brag about. But that took a long time getting there, and before I was tracking every cent that was being spent, not in a frugal or cheap way, but just to ensure I was doing something that made me feel like I was in control of my life because of the chaos around me. But every time I made a purchase, I'd go instantly to the tracking app. And now I do it every week or so, every few days at most, and I'm still in control of them without that inundation of feeling. So Why did this make me feel safe? Let's talk about the physiology behind it, because control feels good. And it does because for a moment, it works. So when your stress rises, the brain's threat system activates and cortisol surges, and predictability becomes a chemical need. So if you can control behavior such as planning, cleaning, checking, organizing, it actually releases small doses of dopamine, which we've talked about before. And it's that micro relief that tells the body we are okay now. So Dr. Judd Brewer calls this the certainty loop. You feel anxiety, so you act to control, then you feel relief, and your brain rewards it with that dopamine, and then the loop repeats. So it's not necessarily obsession, it's not some sort of OCD. You've just conditioned yourself. The problem is that over time this loop turns against you. And the more you rely on control for safety, the more your nervous system forgets how to rest, and stillness starts to feel like falling. God, do I know this feeling. My boy, Dr. Andrew Huberman, he calls this chronic pursuit mode. When dopamine and cortisol run too long together, your baseline shifts, and calm doesn't feel safe anymore. So control is the body's way of saying, I'm not ready to trust the moment yet. I'm not ready to trust the silence yet. And this can come up in a multitude of different ways. If you've ever been in a toxic relationship, well, half the time, your energy is spent not trying to control the toxic partner. We know that's impossible. It's spend trying to predict their next move. So you sit there and you're wasting all of your energy on these unknown predictions just because you're so out of control with this person's actions that if you can try to predict every variable, at least you somewhat feel in control. But that gets tiring. My God, does it ever. Or for me, I live by my calendar and I add everything possible to it. My problem is I have Alexas in every room, so verbally I find myself giving calendar updates or additions throughout the day. Hell, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I will do it. That's not a bad thing. I'm scheduled, I'm dependable. It becomes bad when I take a look at it the next day and I have 12 different tasks. And I try to get through all of them in a day. Now what I do is I make sure I'm prioritizing the most important and the most realistic ones. And no, not all of them have the same degree. So if I can get through my top 3 throughout that day, however that looks, then that's successful. Or those of you who are in a leadership position like myself in a lot of areas, I've found that throughout the years, it is very, very difficult for me to delegate work. Even if I'm with competent people. And the reason I don't delegate it is because others might not do it right. And right means the way that I feel comfortable doing it. So in recent years, I've had to step back when I'm in charge of different projects and let people kind of take the reins for certain aspects of it. Now, that might not look the same as if I were doing it myself, but as long as the outcome is there at the end, then we've achieved it together. So we've talked a lot about control and, of course, my multitudinous examples. But when it comes down to this podcast, the whole point of it is not just to define what an issue is, it's how we can move forward. So let's talk about that other word that I use, that word command. So at first glance, control and command look identical. They're both disciplined, they're both structured and focused, but they run on a different type of fuel, so to speak. Now, control is powered by fear, and command is powered by trust. Control is rigid, command is fluid. Control demands certainty, and command thrives on adaptability. Now, finding the line between these two is finding that line between burnout and mastery. So, we've talked about control. We've talked about control and trying to engineer safety from the outside in. And that's why, if you're focused on control, it's those small disruptions that trigger bigger irritations in your life. But command is an expression of confidence. Command doesn't react to life, it responds. It doesn't need to predict every variable. In command, you are prepared for any variable. So command trusts preparation more than control. Command is an internal authority. So it's not about controlling outcomes, but it's controlling the state that you are in. And once again, I have to say that when we talk about control, I do not mean controlling other people. If you're trying to control other people, there's probably other issues you need to deal with first. When we come back to the control we're discussing, it's control is if I plan enough, nothing can go wrong. But command says even if it does go wrong, I can handle it. Now, this is called state flexibility. And that's that ability to shift between intensity and calm without losing balance. So in command mode, the shoulders drop, breath slows, vision widens, you're alert, you're not anxious. You're present, not panicked. It's the state first. So what state are you in? And then the story of what's causing the chaos around you that comes second. So as a teacher, I find I'm practicing this every single day because of course I have to be organized. I show up every single day with a battle plan. I need to get through steps 1 to 10 by the end of the day. Here's how I'm going to do it. Now, the hilarious and frustrating part of teaching is that every day you step in a door with that plan, and it absolutely will not happen in any way, shape, or form. If even a quarter of my day goes well or to plan, it is an unbelievable achievement. That's where you have to maintain a position of command because no matter what, in my site at least, I'm working with almost 1,400 people, maybe more, and that's 1,400 different variables as opposed to myself. So, if I was focused entirely on control, that discipline would turn to distress. So I want you to think of yourself. I want you to think of the control that you try to have. Does it feel like discipline? Is it organized? Is it reliable? Is it efficient? Because that's good. But when you need all of that to feel safety, then that discipline starts to turn to distress. So if your rest is starting to feel like guilt and downtime feels dangerous, or your worth becomes tied to constant output, then that's where it turns from control into distress. I've been through this. I'm still going through this. I have trouble with downtime. I have to force myself to take downtime that's not productive. Because if you're in that constant activation mode, it actually weakens the neural circuits responsible for calm. Your body forgets what rest feels like, and this is that pursuit trap where you get addicted to tension. You're wired, but you're tired. You're productive, but you're empty. And so everything you're doing turns into a calculation almost. If you feel some sort of joy, it's undeserved unless you've put a ton of work behind it. And you start living for order instead of meaning. So there's a difference between discipline, in other words, making sure you're working out consistently. But if you're skipping all of your social events to work out and foregoing that social aspect of your life, then that's just living for order instead of meaning. So there's a really thin line between mastery and obsession. So discipline is supposed to serve your mission. So if you can't stop something without that guilty feeling, it's not really a strength anymore. It's survival. So that man who can't rest is going to eventually break or burn out where he once excelled. And this is why we're here today. We're here to reinforce that idea that it doesn't have to be control. It can be command. Let's avoid the burnout, or let's climb out of it. How do we do that? Well, in order to do this, we need to reprogram the system. And like I said, command is trust. So the way out isn't force. It's trust in yourself. You don't need to fight the control feeling. You just need to retrain it. Now, step number 1, you recalibrate your nervous system. Everything starts with the physical. I cannot emphasize this enough. So before you act on something, regulate. If you've ever tried breath work, there's something called box breathing or physiological sighs. They calm the amygdala, they restore executive function. So that box breathing is an inhale of 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, inhale for 4 seconds, so on and so forth. And that instantaneously will calm the system. Or you can do some sort of grounding, some sort of slow movement. Walking, lifting, not with crazy intensity. Some sort of stretching or yoga. Namaste. And this tells your body that I'm safe enough to move slowly. Now, there's also something called rhythmic recovery, and this is any sort of rhythmic motion, whether you're practicing breathing in rhythm, whether you're walking back and forth. If you're pacing, that's actually a sign of regulation. Or even if you're tapping something, spinning the pen on your finger. And the purpose of this is because it synchronizes the brainstem and the cortex. So when you regulate first, you stop reacting from fear and you start responding from presence. So let's talk about the second step, and this is building predictability without rigidity. So the idea of control is that it loves absolutes. Command prefers adaptable structures, so you can anchor your day without chaining yourself to it. You can wake and move and eat and reflect. So the same order, but a flexible duration. And if you have that predictability of what's going on, so order, it'll actually lower cortisol. And the flexibility will build the confidence in your system to stay relaxed. Now, Dr. Brewer actually calls this uncoupling uncertainty from threat. Now, this is the tough one for me. Step 3, redefine rest as readiness. So, rest is not regression. Rest is not laziness. It's reload. So 10 minutes daily of stillness, no phone, no noise, teaches your system that calm isn't collapse. So you almost need to cycle stress like training. You have your really hard days, but you also have to have your soft days. And enough of this Instagram grind culture, red pill bullshit. That's the easy way to burn out, and that's just to impress other people. Yes, you are supposed to be working hard when necessary, but you also need to come down from that. Especially at night, shut the mission down. No screens, no reactive input. You need to make sure that you have the intensity to deal with the day, but the flexibility to know when to stop it and rest. And what this will do is step 4. It's going to help you reclaim that internal mission. So anytime your external missions end, the body still craves purpose. You don't know what to do with yourself. So without some sort of direction, it defaults back to control. So what do? You create a new mission that doesn't require adrenaline. This is where I like to focus on creativity. I find that no matter what, in a day, even if I am working an unbelievable intense amount, I have to do something creative, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes. And I actually try and put this creativity closer to when I'm going to sleep, because I find that it trails my body down. So it actually causes a sort of restoration. Now, Huberman calls this purpose-driven dopamine. It's some sort of effort that fuels meaning instead of stress. And this is where we're moving from that idea of chaos to code. And I've talked about having a leadership code prior. And step 5 is all about that. But you need to start with leading from the inside out. So think of command as this. Command isn't trying to dominate. Command is stabilizing. And a singular calm nervous system in a group can downregulate that entire group. Trust me, I work with teenagers. So where control demands compliance, command creates coherence. So you have to be able to stop forcing order and start embodying it. Command is that sovereignty. So control is reacting to fear, but you can't outthink fear. You can, however, outbreathe it. And calm isn't that absence of motion, that's just emptiness. Calm is the presence of mastery. So how do you live this? How do you live this command code? How do you live from center? Well, it's not about letting go. It's about redirecting your grip. You stop trying to manipulate outcomes, and instead you start to manage the state. You're not trying to be loud and yelling. You're steady and in command. So the problem with control is that the world dictates your mood. That's why the irritability is often so associated with control. But when you live in command, you dictate your presence. You decide how you're going to be perceived. Let's go with the podcast title, From Chaos to Code. Let's talk about what it means to have the code of command. Number 1, regulate first, then respond. You never lead from reactivity. Number 2, create predictability inside the chaos. So you try to calm the only thing you're in control of, and that's your body. Calm breath equals calm body. Number 3, replace rigidity with rhythm. So you're trying to build structures, not cages. So you want to work within the whole as opposed to every tiny little piece inside there. And number 4, This is who this podcast is for. You're strong individuals. Choose that confidence over certainty. So have confidence that you can adapt to any situation. Because if you have certainty in only one outcome and it doesn't happen, that's going to cause a break. And number 5, this is the ultimate code. This is the code of leadership. Let your calm be contagious, because your composure is going to influence the entire group around you. Now, you can ignore this work, but your body's going to force it upon you in some sort of stillness you don't want, whether that's burnout or exhaustion or collapse. And that's not failure. It's biology, and it's biology demanding some sort of balance. You can't outwork your hormones or outschedule your stress. I don't care what type of TRT you're on or how many calendar entries you have. So command isn't a switch. It's a practice. It's a repetition. It's a retraining. And every time you respond calmly, you reclaim that ground. So, real mastery isn't about preventing chaos. It's being able to perform under it. So, control is a cage built from fear. Command is the freedom earned through presence. Because the strongest man in the world isn't one who controls the most. It's the one who commands himself best. And once you learn this, nothing outside you has power over you again. Because calm is the highest form of control, and presence, real, embodied, unshakable presence, that's command. So, I've lived both sides of this, and honestly, it was the control that kept me safe, but it was the command that kept me steady. And the difference wasn't discipline, it was trust. So I hope today's podcast lets you take away something from your own life that you can start implementing immediately. This is From Chaos to Code. My name is Ricardo, and obrigado. Thank you for listening. That's it for today's episode of From Chaos to Code, Rebuilding the Iron Mind. If something in this hit you, take a second to sit with it before you scroll away. Write it down, apply it, share it with a brother who might need to hear it. The whole goal here isn't perfection, it's progress. Real men doing the real work of getting stronger, clearer, and more grounded every day. If you want to keep these conversations going, subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen. And if you want to stay around after the episode, I'll be releasing tracks I've made using my own writing and AI music development. Each episode will feature a new track in a variety of genres that I use to express myself. Keep the chaos in check and keep the code alive. I appreciate all of you. Thanks for listening.
You touch me like I'm made of memory. Each breath a whisper from a past I never told. You kiss the places I kept hidden, like you've always known the shape of my soul. Your hands didn't ask, they listened. Your silence wrapped around me like velvet in the dark. I melt into you without flinching, naked where it matters most. I'm safe in your danger, high in your calm. There's no fear when I come on. Raw skin under your holy hands, nothing hidden, nothing ashamed. Every flaw you trace becomes sacred. Every scar you touch forgets your name. You hold me like I'm made of light and bruises. You wrap me with your pose and rewrite me with your tongue. I've never felt more alive when I'm this exposed, this raw, this you. Your fingers speak a fluent kind of worship, one that prays with every graze and grip. Your touch rewrites the stories my scars used to scream, and now they only whisper you. I gave you nothing, but you asked for everything, and somehow that saved me. Raw skin under your holy hands, no shame, no past, just heat and faith. You kneel with your mouth at my altar, and I rise like sin wrapped in grace. You hold me like I'm glass and gold, unbreakable horses. No. You touch me like I'm made of memory. Each breath a whisper from a past I never told. You kiss the places I kept hidden, like you've always known the shape of my soul. Your hands didn't ask, they listened. Your silence wrapped around me like velvet in the dark. I melt into you without flinching, naked where it matters most. I'm safe in your danger, high in your calm. There's no fear when I come undone. Raw skin under your holy hands, nothing hidden, nothing ashamed. Every flaw you trace becomes sacred. Every scar you touch forgets its name. You hold me like I'm made of light and bruises. You write me with your palms and rewrite